voice. Listen online at calon.fm. This is Calon FM.
I'm joined once again with MP for Wrexham, Sarah Atherton, who is here to talk about the view from the constituency. And this, of course, is really very much an end-of-year roundup at the end of what's been an extremely exciting year for Wrexham as well. And if this year's laid the foundations for 2023, then I'm extremely excited about what 2023 holds for Wrexham. Sarah, if we can begin with, if we can have a little chat about something you're doing at the moment, which is your health campaign.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Health campaign. Since I was elected in 2019, the biggest issue was and still remains healthcare and access to healthcare in Wrexham. So basically from day one, I've been running a health campaign to try and advocate for people from Wrexham who are struggling with accessing healthcare. I have to say, healthcare is devolved in Wales, so it's in the gift of the Welsh Government around healthcare and social care. So it's not something I can directly influence, but I can certainly lobby on behalf of the people of Wrexham. And I've done that long and hard over the last few years. We've had some successes. We've had, I'd like a walk-in centre next to the A&E. We've now got an urgent primary care centre. That's a success. I wanted clinicians to be put in positions of management rather than managers. That's now happened across Betsy Cadwallader. So that's one success, although we'll see where that really goes. I've been working along with the Maggie's Cancer Charity and Steve Morgan Foundation to get North Wales a Maggie's Centre. Great success there. The shovel's going to go into the ground at Glan Clwyd, which will cover patients from across North Wales. And obviously it's going to be co-located with the cancer unit there. That's a great success. So I'm looking forward to seeing that shovel go into the ground in February. But we've got an awful long way to go. I'm constantly liaising with the health board over GP access. Some improvements there around Hillcrest and Boris surgeries. But the Myler Hospital, built in 1930, I'm trying to think now, 34, has some recent add-ons. When I went nursing there in 1990, I trained as a nurse in the porter cabins at the back of the phlebotomy centre, which is no longer there. It's really no longer fit for purpose. What we're seeing constantly, for example, in the urgent primary care unit, it's in a room attached to A&E. And if anyone's gone into A&E and sat there for hours upon hours or sat outside in an ambulance waiting, they'll notice there's A&E, out of hours, emergency duty, urgent primary care. And it's all little warrens of rooms that really don't communicate with each other. And I'm just thinking now, you know what? We've had a great year, as you've said. Wrexham is really progressing. We're rising together. We need a modern hospital for a modern Wrexham. So going forward, I'm going to be lobbying the Welsh Government for a new hospital for Wrexham because, quite frankly, we deserve it. We're living longer with medication and technology. Our population in 1930 was about 90,000. We're now nearly 140,000. We need modern healthcare facilities. So that's what I'm going to be looking at, and there's quite a lot of support out there for me to lobby the Welsh Government for that. But I would just like to say, if it's okay with you, about the nurses' strike, which is going on. I returned to the wards during the early parts of COVID, and I worked on a COVID recovery ward at the Myler. And I received net £14, let me get this right, £14, 37 an hour. And it was hard graft in full PPE for 12-hour shifts. Our nurses deserve much, much better than that. They deserve much more than 19% for the work they do. And I know that they would have thought long and hard before going out on strike. But they're undervalued, overworked. We have agency workers coming in. I saw it myself, paid 3 to 5 times as much, not doing the same clinical duties, putting extra pressure on the nurses that are there. Sickness levels are high. That's obviously putting extra pressure on. They deserve more pay, but they also deserve better management. It's quite a complicated issue. They want 19%. You know, I think a lot of our state workers deserve a lot more than that, but we are in a tricky position with inflation. But the independent pay review have offered between 4.5 and 5%. That's an independent pay review. The Welsh Government, the UK Government could give more than that if they wanted to. And I'm asking the Welsh Government to sit round the table, because it's in the Welsh Government's gift to sort this out for Wales, for the profession, for patients, and just sit round and continue to talk. You've got to keep talking if we're going to resolve this. And just drawing a red line and saying, no, that's it. That's not going to get us out of this situation. And, you know, people in Wrexham need healthcare. They need nurses to be working. We've got massive waiting lists. 1 in 4 in Wales are on a waiting list for an operation. 1 in 20 in England. We need our nurses to get back. We need our nurses to be valued. We need them to be properly paid for the very difficult and important work they do. And equally, we need our hospital managers to realise how valuable they are.
You know, it's very easy to focus, of course, on the negative side of healthcare. I think we tend to feel, you know, because of our own experiences, we tend to draw more on that. But I think it's important to highlight there's really positive stuff been happening at the Milo Hospital in Wrexham, hasn't there? And one of those being some of the work around veterans, which you've championed there, haven't you?
Yes, and you're absolutely right, because there's some great work going on in there, and Shooting Stars in particular do some fantastic work around cancer support for patients in Wrexham and their families. And you're quite right, veterans healthcare. So obviously I'm a champion for veterans, and I happen to find a funding stream which would pay for a veterans healthcare support officer. And I highlighted that to the management at the Mila. They applied for it and they got the funding for 2 years. And Zoe Roberts, fantastic lady, is in place. By Jove, she can move mountains, this woman. We need lots more Zoes going around. And what she does is, if a veteran goes into hospital, into A&E, into ambulance by the GP, she will pick that up. There's a trigger there on the paperwork when people are asked about their healthcare. Are you a veteran? She gets alerted to them and she follows their pathway to make sure if they have any specific needs relating to their service as a veteran, that is met going forward through their healthcare and social care journey, because she doesn't just stop when people leave hospital and they're discharged. She also picks them up in the community, which is very typical for Zoe. Her job actually stops when people are discharged, but she doesn't do that. She's fantastic. She goes straight out into the community and supports them there with the Veterans Charity. And I had a call from a constituent, a lady, a daughter of a chap called Stephen Harvey, who was 99 years old. He'd been fit for discharge 3 months ago, and he was stuck in an acute cardiac bed and couldn't get out because of healthcare, social care reasons and care home reasons. It's quite complicated. However, he was going to be 100 years old that week. And I thought, well, the least we can do is pull out all the stops, get all the charities and representatives round his bed with balloons and cake, and the staff really kicked in and helped. So we had a wonderful birthday party for Stephen, and we are looking at how to get him suitably discharged into a care home. So well done, Zoe. Well done, the hospital and the nursing staff in the cardiac ward for making Stephen Harvey's 100th birthday very special, and thank you.
And I think this is a shining example of how all of our healthcare staff really do want the best for everybody. Now, moving on, though, because we've got so much to talk about in limited time, we did have a very special visit to Wrexham very recently. Can you talk to me about the visit from King Charles and, of course, Camilla?
Oh, the top secret visit in Wrexham that we all knew about. Yes, I was invited by the council about a week before. I sort of got wind something exciting was happening, and the rumour control machine had been out in Wrexham, so we sort of knew really what was going on. And it was wonderful that the King and the Queen Consort came to Wrexham to really put that last seal on us having city status. And it was just wonderful to have the King in Wrexham. We had all charities and representatives at St Giles's Church. He went to the football club first of all, went down a storm there by all accounts. I wasn't invited to that bit, And he went to Erddig as well, Erddig House, which was lovely. And then he came to Wrexham, and it was just such a magical moment for the city. And all people lined the streets outside, waving flags, Union flags and Welsh dragons. It was a beautiful moment, and it's one that will go down in the history of Wrexham.
I think it's a really interesting thing, actually, and not just in the history of Wrexham, but possibly in the history of the UK. For we were conferred city status during Queen Elizabeth's reign, and yet the final part of that entire process has taken place under another monarch. It's quite a unique historical situation, really, but wonderful to see the royal family engaging with Wales's newest city. And I would like to think it's the first of many, many more visits to come, I'd like to think.
Well, it's certainly been part of this exciting year we've all had.
I don't think if you look back sort of 12, 18 months ago, anybody could have expected this year to unfold the way it did. I really don't. And that's a wonderful thing. Now, moving on to the topic of phosphates, because I believe you've been campaigning in that area as well.
Yes, the Welsh Government, in summary, the Welsh Government have brought in a very laudable policy to try and control phosphates in our waters. The devil's always in the detail, and the upshot of it is that there's been no new building work for many, many months now. So anywhere that needs a loo, any sanitary fittings, any new sanitary fittings can't be built. So anyone that's leaving hospital that needs a downstairs bathroom, wet room, etc., any businesses on the trading estate that needs new toilets, they can't be built. So there's a bit of an impasse going on, and there's a lot of work, and I've been lobbying Welsh Government to try and sort this out, because obviously Wrexham's got lots of opportunities, but we're marking time. You know, we've got no new housing developments. You'll see housing developments along the A483 that have just been stood there now for months and months. That's the reason why. So we've got no new homes for our kids to get a foot on the property ladder. We've got no new employment because we've got a trading estate ready to expand, but they can't build. So this is something that's been going on for a while, which I'm on to with the Welsh Government. And really, it's at an impasse, and it needs to move on. It's all moving a bit too slowly, really. But some of the issue as well is around roads and the A483, because the Welsh Government have also brought in no new road building in Wales. And there's some debate whether the junction around junction 3 to 6 on the A483 is classed as an old project or a new project. And of course, the local development plan, which is going to build the new houses, depends on that road reconfiguration and that junction. And by the way, it'd be nice to have the new hospital out there as well. So there's a lot of things waiting at the moment, marking time, and they've been marking time for too long, and we really need to move on. Wrexham's got some great opportunities, great investment, big businesses looking our way. We've got lots of potential, but we're stuck at the moment. Phosphates is one of them, and road building is another. And of course, you know, if we're looking at the gateway going into Wrexham and the football club and the whole new transformation that's going to go on near the railway station, that will also be inhibited by roads and phosphates. So we really need to move that on for Wrexham, really.
Fantastic, and that's going to be something really interesting to watch as we move into 2023. Now, I believe you've been in several meetings with some of our local leadership as well on other topics recently, haven't you?
Yes, I met with a chap a while ago, bit of a local celebrity really in Wrexham, Mr. Tunner, and he's visually impaired, and we went on a walkabout around Wrexham to see what challenges he faced, and I was really, really surprised at how many challenges he faces, from just road curbs, lights, bollards, obstacles in the way, street furniture, etc. And I was really struck by how difficult it must be for people with disabilities to access Wrexham. And I just want to make sure when we expand and develop and we have all these new exciting opportunities, that we take into account disability access. So I asked the council, who's your disability lead? At the time, they didn't have one, which really surprised me, being a nurse and social worker. I thought everyone, every council had to have a disability lead. And Mark Pritchard, the leader of the council, is now our disability lead, which is great news. He's been out with Mr. Tunner as well. He's made some adaptations with the highways and the roads in the town centre, which is a great success. And I went to see him to make sure that as Wrexham expands, as we renovate, as we upgrade, we take into account disability access for all. So that's one part of my work, which I'm going to just tick along and pursue and make sure, as you know, we develop as a city, that we make sure that everyone can access what Wrexham's got to offer. And then the other issue I've looked at is the Shared Prosperity Fund. So now we're out of the European Union, Brexit. The money that we used to get from Europe, which used to go to the Welsh Government and then filtered down to the Wrexham Council. And there was always big complaints locally that the money was never spent in North Wales, it was always South Wales. That's now ended. So the money comes directly from the UK government. And I fought long and hard with my Welsh colleagues to make sure that that doesn't go to the Welsh Government. It is devolved directly down to the people who need it and spend it, which is Wrexham Council. So they've now received £22.4 million from the UK government to Wrexham Council. And I'm just going to make sure that they spend it wisely and they spend it on what the people of Wrexham want. And the guidelines for that is pride of place, pride in where we live. It's part of this levelling up agenda, which quite frankly, most people don't quite know what it means. But if you think about it, it's about being proud of Wrexham. And what is the biggest gripe we've had from Wrexham since I was elected is our town centre. So I'm really keen that the council spend it on what the people want. I've done a survey locally. I've got a list of areas that people wanted to spend on, and it's everything that you would think it would be. I've given that to the council, but it's now up to the council group, the councillors, to decide how that's spent. My job was to get the money here in the first place. It's now for the council to decide how it's spent. So I just want to make sure that they know how the people of Wrexham want it spent, how I think it should be spent. But it's up to them how they do that. But this is really exciting stuff. This is devolving down, right down to where it matters. And, you know, the council and the councillors, our elected representatives, are now going to choose how that £22.4 million is going to be spent in the Wrexham County Borough Council area. Super exciting work.
And of course, it's very important to remember we are the county borough, not just the city of Wrexham, but some very exciting things happening in the city already. We're seeing Chapter Court is taking shape. We're looking at having occupancy in the new Chapter Court early next year, which is fantastic. The building's looking fabulous. I'm not sure if you've been past there recently, but seeing that transformation of what have been for a long time empty shops, absolutely wonderful. There's going to be a lot of independent traders taking up occupancy in the first chapter of that new project. So I think, again, we've said it before, but very exciting year ahead for Wrexham as we go into 2023. Let's talk Christmas, though. We are coming up very close to Christmas. And of course, we talked last time we spoke about your Christmas card campaign, but that's not all you've been doing around Christmas, is it?
No. So last year, I got involved with the Rotary and Mecca Bingo. I love a game of bingo. I have been seen there now and again. Looking at fresh Christmas hampers for people around Kaya Park. The Kaya Park Partnership identified people. So did our local church and community networks. And last year, we arranged for 50 fresh hampers to go out to people just before Christmas, along with toy boxes. Well, this year we decided to go bigger and better. We were looking at around 150 fresh hampers and toy boxes going out this year. So I set up a Just Giving page along with Mecca Bingo and the Rotary, local businesses like Wockhart, Allington Hughes and Wrexham Club Ties. They've all donated lots of cash. So we're going to have 150 fresh hampers going out this year. And this year we're focusing a little more on not only families that are struggling, but also young males that are on their own at Christmas, because we're concerned really that sometimes they're a bit of a hidden, vulnerable population of ours. So that's what's going to be happening this week. Very excited about that. We'll be packing up fresh chickens and nuts and all sorts of crackers and lovely things that you have at Christmas, all the stuff that you don't usually buy, but it's quite special. Chocolates after 8, crackers, that sort of thing, cheese. And we'll be packing those up on Wednesday and they'll be going out around Wrexham, which is really lovely. And that's under the Everyone Deserves a Christmas banner. So thank you to the Kaya Partnership, Mecca Bingo, the businesses, and the Rotary for doing that. It's getting bigger and bigger every year, and there's certainly going to be need out there this year.
It really just demonstrates that community spirit in Wrexham, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes, it does, and it made us smile, because the only comment we had, the only criticism we had last year, because obviously you learn from a bit of criticism, you change things, is that some people didn't quite know how to cook a roast dinner. So this year we're going to have cooking instructions and ingredients cards of how to do that dinner. So I really hope that families and people will be around the kitchen table this year, having a laugh with some giblets and stuffing chickens and things, and it's going to be a big sort of family occasion where people will get together and have a bit of fun as well.
Absolutely wonderful campaign. And we did talk earlier in the month again about your Christmas card campaign. But let's talk briefly about your Christmas card once again, because again, such a lovely story to share with our listeners.
Well, every year for my Christmas card, I usually approach the schools and say, please draw a picture for Christmas, and a child usually gets picked. But this year, I decided to do things slightly different. And I wanted to look at reminiscence and reminiscence therapy. I was a dementia care social worker, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we went to a care home and said, what do you remember from Christmas? What's your old memories of Christmas? And Ashgrove Care Home in Gresford were happy to come. I went along to them and we spoke about Christmas and what it meant to people, and they drew pictures. And the winner was Marion Davis, and she'd drawn a picture of Albert Street in Wrexham when she was about 5, and there's a row of terraces there, and there's a tree with a star on, and there's little Marion at the age of 5, and she's gone carol singing, and she specifically remembers, and it was wonderful to see her face light up when she told me, going carol singing, and only one house opened the door to her, and she went inside and she sang Away in a Manger. And they gave her some money. I can't remember what she called it. It wasn't a bar, but it might have been before then. But they gave her some money and one nut. And she remembered that, and it was her memories of Christmas. So that's our Christmas card this year. It's a little different, and I went to see Marion and the care home during their Christmas festivities, and it was just wonderful to see all these people chatting about what they remember from their childhood Christmases. So slightly different this year, and well done, Marion Davis.
And wonderful that thanks to your campaign, and that even more people are going to have a Christmas to remember right here in Wrexham as well. Sarah, that is all we have got time for today. Thank you ever so much for joining me, and may I wish you on behalf of all of our presenters and our listeners a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to us all working together for Wrexham in 2023. We've had an amazing last year, so let's make next year even better. And Nadolig Llawen.
On your radio, online, and on your smart speaker. Your town, your station, your voice. Listen online at calon.fm. This